Hey everyone, today is Thursday, April 7th, 2026, or sorry, May 7th, 2026. And this is the New Jersey Outreach presentation. And I am going to read us the Bivens Declaration. Where did it go? Okay, this meeting is private, bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance in today's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, city, county, or township agencies present? Is there any response to the Bivens decision for the first time? Hearing none, is there a response for the second time? Hearing none, is there a response for a third and final time? Hearing none. Anyone who's here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave this conference call presentation. If they subsequently show up as federal witnesses, they are discredited for failure to disclose. Are you now or have you ever received money or personal support of any kind from the intelligence community? Upon no response to this notice of the Bivens Declaration, this meeting shall now proceed. Here. All right, so I thought instead of doing a slide presentation, because I know, I was kind of gauging who would be on this call tonight, I'd like to review one of Anna's articles, and there's so much in this article. It's loaded up, and it's dating back to the earlier times. So some of the information, may be a little outdated, but a lot of it is still, as true today as it was, 5-6 years ago when she wrote it. So I'm going to share my screen and pull this up. All right, I'm going to go to this one first. Let me see if I can zoom in and make it a little bigger. Can you guys see this okay? Patisa, can you see this? Can you see the writing and it's not too small? Okay, thank you, Carlene. All right, so this article is called No Dog in the Fight. And if anybody wants to read, I don't have to read this, but if anybody wants to read, just raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll start us off. If you feel the desire to jump in and read it. Sometimes I know for people, they comprehend it or absorb it a little bit better when they read it themselves rather than listening to somebody else read it. So if that's you and you want to read, feel free to raise your hand and you guys can do that. But I'll get us going here. All right, so let me see if I can move that up. All right, you have elected all these jokers in good faith, assuming that you were electing them to public office. They have occupied similarly named private corporate offices instead and left the public offices vacant. Read the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act, also short FSIA, and the International Organizations Immunity Act, IOIA, for blatant proof of what they have done. And I'm going to pause there for a second because I do have the Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act up on, I have it queued up, and we could come back to it, but I'm going to take all these different resources and I'm going to share them in the chat So you guys can grab them and read them, for yourself as well. But anyway, you thought you elected fiduciary deputies to conduct your business in Congress, but no, they redefined their role to be mere representatives. They then represented you anyway, that padded their pockets and boosted corporate profits. See their amendment to their phony corporate constitution published in 1868 that changes the accountability of U.S. senators, making them only accountable to their peers in Congress. Being a senator is as close to being king as it gets. They can't be recalled by the people who elect them or who elected them. And you have allowed all this crap because, frankly, you and your parents and grandparents have been asleep at the wheel. So just want to pause there too for a second, because this is really, I want to share with you guys that Dan and I went to the state capitol on Tuesday and got a tour with my daughter's school. Never been inside the state capitol. I've been outside on the grounds many times for protests back in the day when I was still a U.S. citizen, but never been inside, and it was quite an experience. And the tour guide, I really baffled him pretty much with any question that I gave him. I don't think he answered one of them, right?
Partials. That was it.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I asked him was when we were at the governor's office, outside the governor's office, and he stopped there to talk to us about the governor's role in the office and how he or she has the executive power to veto any bill. Basically, that veto right, I guess, if you want to call it, or power, the American government never operated with any kind of ability to veto anything. Anything that the people wanted, the elected officials had to listen to. So I asked him, when he got done with his spiel, I said, could you explain to the kids how our elected representatives have to listen to the people, because we have a we the people government. It's a government for, of, and by the people. Can you explain how that all works? And he said, well, you have elected representatives. And he said, and they represent your voice. And I said, well, what if I don't like what they're deciding to do? He's like, well, then you have to petition them. I said, well, what if we petition them and they still don't listen to us? The only thing that he could say was, the next time around, you can vote for somebody else. And so I said, well, what about a process for a recall? And he actually said, I don't know about that. Because they're making it very clear to us, guys, that we are not operating in a Republican form of government. It is a democracy, and it is a mob rule. And like this article is showing us right here, is that you thought you elected fiduciary deputies to conduct your business. Those are the elected representatives that, in the Republican form of government that we thought we were voting in. And we also thought that if we didn't like what they were doing, we could recall them. And that's the power of the people right there. So they're letting us know firsthand that we can't recall them. So it says right here, right? Because they're a king. In their democracy, they are a king. That's how the democracy is set up. They can't be recalled by the people who elected them. And you have allowed all this crap because, frankly, you and your parents and your grandparents have been asleep at the wheel. You have believed that the, quote, federal government was your government. But in fact, it has always been a foreign service vendor operated by British subjects here on our shores to provide, and she has it in quotes because this is the whole purpose of the Constitution's, essential governmental services. And she says, read Article 4 of the Constitution. We can pull that up too if we want. But go back and read the actual founding documents. The Definitive Treaty of Peace. Paris, 1783 spells it out. There are two populations in this country, and there always have been. Free, sovereign, and independent people of the United States. And the British subject inhabitants, loyal to the king, here on our shores to provide essential government services. The same treaty reveals that King George III remained the acknowledged, quote, prince and arch-treasurer of the United States after the Revolution. That thing in Washington, which is the District of Columbia, is not your government, and it never has been. It is a foreign, self-interested, and since 1868, incorporated entity that is in the business of providing governmental services under contract. Period. That's it. It's the governmental services equivalent to Exxon. Your states of the Union were its original customers. They agreed to receive and pay for 19 strictly enumerated services spelled out in the Constitution, all of them carried out in the international jurisdiction of the sea. But corporations being corporations, they've drummed up business, however they saw fit, often via extortion like the IRS, and racketeering like Social Security or Obamacare, and theft like the BLM. And I will say, as Americans, we already sent in our letters to the IRS to let them know that we are Americans and that we're retracting our, volunteering to pay, basically to give you a gift and, a gift. That's really what it is. It's like a donation or a gift to their organization. So anytime you get anything in the mail from the IRS, you have to rebut it. But I always say, don't worry about it because they're soliciting business. No different than, any other business like roofing or landscaping or window replacements, right? They're soliciting your business. The agents of the, quote, federal corporation routinely lie to you and tell you that you have to buy something or pay something or take some action, like signing up for Social Security, because it is a government mandate. And you are stupid enough to go along with this. So they continue to get away with it. They routinely criminalize normal activities of common right, like traveling from point A to point B or getting married, so that they can charge you for licenses and regulate your private business as commerce. They consider all United States citizens their slaves, and all citizens of the United States are defined as criminals. Read the 13th and 14th Amendments to their bogus corporate constitution more carefully, and you will see what has gone on. In their 13th Amendment, they abolished slavery except for criminals. In the 14th Amendment of their filthy look-alike, sound-alike corporate charter document, they made all citizens of the United States criminals by definition. And then they have contrived to define all of us as citizens of the United States by any means, fair or foul. We have played unwitting host to the most vile, venal, oppressive, out-of-control crime syndicate in the history of the world. And we have mistakenly thought that this thing was our own dear government and paddled along like good little ducks, acting in good faith doing whatever we were told. Imagine that you are a magazine publisher and you can order 390 million people to buy 3 subscriptions or 6 subscriptions to a dozen subscriptions each. And the limit of this abuse is only what the victims will tolerate. That's what you have going on in Washington, D.C., but it is actually much, much worse than that. These vermin have gotten away with their abusive profit hunting for so long that they have promoted violence and piracy and criminality throughout the world. These people are all British subjects, and they are commandeered as such, literally press-ganged and falsely identified as British subjects. The moment they take the oath of office or accept a federal job or are herded like sheep and coerced under false pretenses into accepting a, quote, social security number. These British cons have hidden behind our skirts and used us as frontmen to carry out their dirty work so that the Americans are being blamed for it all. And what she means by this is for instance, all the debt. They're saying that, we owe the debt when that's not true. Only British subjects owe the debt. They also try to charge us for, taxes to pay for all the wars that they're getting themselves involved in. They're raping and pillaging other countries, installing their puppet governments, and then taking all of their natural resources to enrich themselves. And then we're being blamed for it. That's why people in other countries, they don't like Americans, because they think we're the ones that are to blame for all of this. And this is why she says in this article that they've hidden behind our skirts and used us as frontmen to carry out their dirty work so that the Americans are being blamed for it all. Same thing with our military. We've got innocent young men signing up to do a very honorable job, and they think that they're fighting for the freedom for this country, but really they're cheap mercenaries going over to these foreign countries and murdering innocent men and women and children, all for these criminals that have tricked us all. It's really a shame when you think about it. So this is what comes from allowing foreign governments, both British and since World War II, French, to share your country's international jurisdiction and to dictate your trade policy and issue your money and wipe your butts for you. There are 2 main and many subsidiary federal corporations providing you and their franchises operated as fake states of states with governmental services. Now, I want to pause here for a minute because the reason why she says fake state of states, Dan or Patisa, do you know why she says fake state of states? It's okay if you don't, but I'm just curious.
I mean, I could surmise, but I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Well, because like everything else, they substituted their stuff for our stuff. Because remember, the Confederation was a business entity calling itself State of New Jersey, State of New York, State of Connecticut, and so on and so forth, because they were operating as states of states, but it was unincorporated. So they created a corporation and also called it the State of New Jersey, right, in all capital letters, and that was their corporation. So they used the same name. This is the name game that they use. It's a bait and switch to trick people. So they operated as fake states of states with governmental services. The IMF has operated the United States Inc. on our shores, and that vicious fraud machine has finally been bankrupted and forced into liquidation. The Federal Reserve has operated the United States of America Inc., and it has been forced into Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So now we have Jacob Rothschild here promoting the New Republic Inc. as a replacement for these governmental services corporations. And the UN corporation, not the actual United Nations, is shipping in blue helmeted commercial mercenaries from around the world to keep the peace while these despicable corporations are dismantled and taken down and their assets returned to their creditors. Carlene, yeah, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
What is IMF?
It's the International Monetary Fund.
Okay. And
it's another bank.
okay. And do you or we or someone have a list of all these things? For instance, okay, New Jersey, just capital N and J. That's the real state, correct?
No, technically we don't. So when you look up in something like the Chicago, I actually have it right here. Hold on. So if you go to the Chicago Manual of Style, you can see how thick it is. Okay. This is a language book to teach you what the proper spelling of things are. So capital N, capital J is an abbreviation for a corporation. Our actual state, the abbreviation is supposed to be capital N, lowercase j.
Very interesting. Okay, but spelled out, it's capital N, lowercase EW, and then capital J, or that's still lowercase j?
No. Capital J with lowercase,
Lowercase,
the rest.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what I meant, but I'm glad that you, okay, I didn't mean just NJ, I meant what we just explained. Okay, I got to get that book.
Yeah, and when you actually go through the manual, it'll teach you why anything in capital letters is technically, it's either a corporation, a legal fiction, or a dead entity. Mm-hmm. And that's why your name, on your driver's license is in all capital letters.
All caps, yep.
Right? And then if you think about it, when you're signing any kind of a legal document or some kind of agreement and they tell you to initial here, you're not supposed to initial anything because that initial means nothing. Same thing with using a middle initial in your name. I used to sign my name Tammy A. Healy because my middle name is Ann. But if you think about it, that technically doesn't have to necessarily be you because it could be Tammy Annette Healy. Tammy, I don't know what A could be. I can't think of another name for A, but it could be any name that starts with the letter A, right? So all these things that they've done and have never told us. So anything that's in capital letters in English language is gibberish. This is considered dog Latin. And that's why legal entities use it because that's their language. And that's why attorneys have to go to law school for so long to learn law because technically they're learning a different language. All right, moving on. Yeah, you're welcome. The big problem has been that the priority creditors of these vicious crime syndicates have been absent from the table. That's us, guys. The priority creditors are us, the living people. Nobody has raised their hand or made a peep in behalf of the actual American nation states and the living American people who have been the prime victims of all of this chicanery, nor have they spoken up for the equally defrauded people of the UK, Canada in all capital letters, Australia in all capital letters, Japan in all capital letters, and so on and on. Instead, we and our assets have remained on the table as the feast prepared by the evil ones for their secondary creditors. The banks and foreign investors they have defrauded in our names without our knowledge or consent. At the same time, they have been robbing and defrauding us. which is why I and numerous others have labored for many years to bring forward the claims of the American states and people. We saw the crap the rats pulled during the bankruptcy of the United States of America, Inc., and we haven't sat on our thumbs for another round of it. Instead, we have spent 20 plus years of our lives documenting the debts owed by these corporations to the actual factual states and people. So what she's saying here, this is what we refer to when we keep talking about our prepaid credit, right? Because these corporations were the ones that were racking up the debt and using our credit for their debt. They owe us big time. Is this going to cause dismay and disruption? Will it require an armed invasion of Washington, D.C.? If so, we should be standing shoulder to shoulder with the blue hats and helping them flush the sewers of the Beltline, not shooting at them. But to be honest, we don't have a dog in this fight. These corporations are not, and she repeats, not our government. They never have been. Both the United States and the United States of America, in all capital letters, are just foreign corporate vendors of governmental services gone horribly wrong. Our interests are best served by flying our own peacetime civil flag, the vertical stripes with the blue stars, or a simple white truce flag, and minding our own business while the odious debts accrued against us and other nations are wiped away and the criminals are removed. And most importantly, we need to wake the bleep up. There is no reason for Britain or France or any other foreign interests to control such vital functions of our government as the issuance of our money or dictate our international trade policies or command the deployment of our armed forces under color of law. It's time to renegotiate the contracts, i.e. treaties, to correct this situation and to reorganize our own thinking and assumptions to deal with the truth. Now that you know the factual and long-standing truth that the organization operating as your government isn't actually your government, and that it is a foreign, self-interested commercial corporation that has not functioned as it is obligated to function, you can get on with the business of operating the government that you are owed, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Oh, I gotta plug this in. Our rights and property, which we hold dear, are not being wrested from us by any foreign invasion. They can, however, be lost if we fail to step to the plate and do the job of self-governance mandated by our actual Constitution. For months now, I have been telling people coast to coast to organize their local county governments and to operate as unincorporated associations, because the moment you incorporate anything, you remove it from the land jurisdiction and place it and its operations under the law of the sea and in the international jurisdiction of the sea. Can the land be represented by the sea? I think not. All these incorporated counties and states of states are operating in a foreign and improper jurisdiction. They have all been seduced by federal corporation racketeering kickbacks called federal block grants and have been taken over by the criminally misadministered federal corporations and run as franchises, just like Dairy Queen franchises. The only actual true legitimate government standing on the land jurisdiction of this entire country is vested in me and you and the unincorporated organizations that we operate on the land jurisdiction. The actual county government and the actual state government owed to us is of the people, for the people, and by the people, not of the corporation, by the corporation, and for the corporation. So it is imperative that while the international community deals with the bankrupt and criminal corporations that have been operating out of the District of Columbia and with the British and French governments, which are responsible for those corporate miscreants, that we, the American people, do our own dusting and cleaning. The Colorado state is not the state of Colorado. The Colorado state is the lawful business agent of the Colorado nation and its people. The state of Colorado is a franchise of a bankrupt foreign corporation. Now that we have all that sorted out, please understand that we don't have a dog in the fight that is coming to Washington, D.C. Please also be aware that you and your property interests have been properly and faithfully protected. I'm just going to pause here for a second too. So this is why we don't go to Washington, D.C. to protest. This is why we don't go to our state capital to protest, because those people are not our government. They are our employees. And so the way we deal with these people is sending them notices to tell them what we want them to do. And they've got to get brought up to speed because they still think that they are the actual government. Now think about it, guys. I mean, we've never lived our entire lives with seeing how the American government was supposed to be functioning. All we've ever known was foreign corporate entities running our government. So we can't blame the people that are in our state capitals or in Washington, D.C. You know, those who know and have been noticed, we can now hold them to account. But most of them don't know. And so this is why it's so important for us to get the word out and to continue to do the outreach and the education. Yes, go ahead, Carlene.
I hope it's okay that I'm asking questions. I know people that, work for government and or are trying to run for different positions. And I think that how do you get them do they believe you? When you send notices, are they like, you're crazy? You don't know what you're talking about? This can't be true?
So I would love, as we get more people on board, Carlene, and more people involved and active in doing the actual work, it will free us up to actually follow up with people. Because ultimately what I'd love to do is go to their office, give them a handshake, and, have a conversation with them. I don't know how they'll respond. Like anybody else, think about it. I mean, when I was introduced to this, I own it too. I thought the guy that was telling me this was crazy, and I walked away from him. But it was fortunate for me that I met him at a rally that I was holding in my town here. And because he was a state national who lived in my town. So he came by every Saturday that we were out there rallying for freedom, and he was educating us. But the first time he came, I thought he was crazy, and I walked away. I'm like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. He's off his rocker. But then he just kept telling us and talking to us, and I was like, huh. He said some things that started to make sense, because clearly we can see that we do not have a government for, of, and by the people.
Correct. Yeah, I totally believe it. I just don't understand all the things. And I don't think that the people that are actually senators or, that they don't know. They have no idea. And so that's what I'm asking. If they've received this letter.
Well, what happens, I think the notices that we've sent to the governor. Mm-hmm. And if it was about bills, well, we sent notices to the sheriffs. We got 2 responses back, but they were very odd responses. Mm-hmm. Something about, I don't even remember what the response was. It didn't even make any sense. And so we hadn't gotten a response from the sheriffs. when we sent our notices to the governor, we didn't get, we sent it registered mail with return receipt so we can see that they received it, but we didn't get any response from them. When we did, I think we sent them a notice about the electrical grid. We have not followed up, but from what I could tell, instead of a $50 credit, they gave people a $100 credit, for I think the 3 months in the summer. So, it's going to require persistency, and it's going to require a lot more efforts as we're moving forward. And so I don't know how long that's going to take, I mean, I really thought by now that we would have mass amounts of people coming in. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if the cognitive dissonance is so bad that that's what the holdup is. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, it's hard to get people to wrap their head around this and to believe it to be true. And I think because we're all busy, everybody's busy, that people...
That's part of the plan, right?
Yeah. That they won't, if they don't see value in this information, they won't go and take the time to research it.
Right. And so, that's why I think it's very important to have those things too that you said you're going to put in the chat, like that like hardcore like proof, and even that nowadays with AI and everything, Yeah,
well, and the other thing too, and like I said last night on our General Assembly meeting, mm-hmm. This book, right? This is a hard, actual, factual book. You can see it's old, and this already has chapters talking about self-governing.
Yep.
So we have those things to provide for evidence. But we also have all these other little beautiful treasure troughs that I'm going to share after we get through this article.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, let's see. You need to understand that you are an American state national, one of the peaceful, honest people of America, not a war-mongering British subject called a United States citizen or citizen of the United States, bent on piracy and promotion of corporate colonialism. If what you want is your country back in your control, with all its peace and property intact, all its constitutional guarantees being honored, then it is time to take the following actions. 1. Record your expatriation act, formally stating that you are a peaceful American state national reclaiming your birthright political status. 2. Organize your local general assemblies, elect your local government officers, judges, sheriffs, assemblymen, etc. to operate the land jurisdiction government owed to you. 4. Pay no attention to what happens to the federal corporations or to the incorporated counties or states of states. So basically what she's saying here is that what they're doing in their governments is really none of our business because it doesn't pertain to us. Even the bills that they pass, those bills don't pertain to us. And it'll be interesting if there's ever a day where they pass some kind of a law and we have to prove that those laws don't, they don't pertain to us. So, but anyway, these things aren't your government. They are actually none of your concern. They are just foreign corporations like Target here to provide governmental services to your states. And so long as you have sense enough to realize that that is what they are and maintain your identity as an American state national, not a U.S. citizen of any stripe, all will be well with you and yours and your country and the country you love. Jacob Rothschild is making an offer to buy these bankrupt corporate entities and boot up a new organization calling itself the New Republic. It is calculated to maintain some infrastructure and keep the peace. But now that you know the truth, you will realize that the New Republic is just a rebranding and new management for the whole federal corporate apparatus. And it is not your actual government at all. It's just a new governmental services corporation coming on board, and it does not have a contract. It is just offering its services and temporarily providing them. As with any consumer contract, you aren't under any obligation, and neither are your states, beyond paying for actual stipulated services received on a month-by-month basis. It will be up to you and your properly elected and actual fiduciary deputies to determine whether or not the new republic gets the service contract, and it will also be up to you to operate your own land jurisdiction government quite above and separate from their activities undertaken in behalf of actual British subjects who are legitimately United States citizens and in pursuit of their duties under the Constitution, the actual one. It will also be up to you and your actual fiduciary deputies whether or not the current oddball arrangement in which foreign corporations get to dictate your foreign policy, your trade policy, issue your national currency, and perform other vital functions that a mature nation should undertake for itself endures. It has obviously not worked for us and has caused great damage to other nations, so its continuance is not, in my opinion, desirable for us or anyone else. We have indeed spawned a new nation, in the words of Benjamin Franklin. It's time for us to take our place among the nations as a fully functioning part of the world community, instead of playing the role of the infant terrible, being jerked around by foreign interests and used and abused to in turn use and abuse other nations. The British, and since World War II, the French governments have used the American people as bullies and commercial mercenaries, and have done so in breach of trust. They have plundered our assets and mischaracterized us as British subjects, and hypothecated debt against our assets and made false claims against us. They have undermined our lawful government on the land and used legal chicanery as an excuse not to honor their obligations to us in the international jurisdiction of the sea. Britain, like Kronos, the father of the Titans, has attempted to eat all its colonial children, and France has been seduced by the lure of easy money and power to follow suit. Their criminal misadministration of their faithful, if gullible, allies stands as a grim warning to the entire world regarding the dangers of letting any incorporated profit-motivated entity provide governmental services. And now we come to the end of this saga. The new republic is just the latest rebranding and new management ploy of the same old perpetrators, and though it may be better managed than the old federal corporation, it is what it is, and it is not your government, not your republic, which you are owed. In order to enjoy the blessings of your republic, you have to get off your butts and, thanks to British chicanery, reclaim your birthright political status as an American state national, like Coloradans, Virginians, Texans, New Jerseyans. Having made that choice very clear, you need to organize your own local general assemblies, which we are, and elect your own local American common law court officers and local county government officials to run the counties owed the land jurisdiction of this country. The only way to have a government of the people, by the people, and for the people is to accept the responsibility of self-governance. You cannot just hire someone to do it for you. The United Nations and the Vatican Chancery and the Pope and the other governments involved in this fiasco, and Jacob Rothschild and the Bank of International Settlements, have all been given plenty of due process notice regarding this whole circumstance. They have cause to know that literally billions of innocent people, not only Americans, but Brits and Canadians and Aussies and Japanese and French and Germans and Indians and ... have been victimized by this criminality and breach of trust and contract. They have cause to know who the actual priority creditors of these criminal corporations are. Competent fiduciaries and witnesses have informed the heads of state and the central banks and the divine trust officials. Your claims and the claims of your states of the union have been properly brought forward, and your assets have been reconveyed to the land jurisdiction where they are owed every jot of the original and actual Constitution, and where they stand under the protection of the Spanish king and are not subject to any self-serving presumptions by Queen Bess in international jurisdiction. Slowly but surely, the same machinery that was abused to press gang and defraud the living people to enrich the governmental service corporations is being employed and brought to bear to liquidate the offending corporations. That they are being dismantled and their assets seized and redistributed to their creditors should be a cause of rejoicing and not any cause for bloodshed, strife, or even unrest. As the priority creditors of all these various corporations, the American states and the American people are in the catbird seat and have proposed both ways and means to provide for peaceable settlement that puts the power of the purse back where it belongs, in the hands of individual people and unincorporated government structures operating in the best interests of the public good. So as far as the blue hats are concerned, don't be overly alarmed. Some elements of the old governmental service corporations may have to be removed. There may be mass confusion. Jacob Rothschild may be tempted to try to usurp position and pull another sleight of hand by pretending that his new republic is your actual lawful government. But as long as you know the truth and do your part to assemble your unincorporated land jurisdiction government, any action against you and your efforts would be instantly recognized as more corporate fraud. The central bank and government of France does not want to be accused of willful commercial fraud. They are already in enough trouble for their failure to maintain oversight on the IMF and its operations on our shores as the United Nations, Inc., ditto the Central Bank and Government of England and the Central Bank and Government of Westminster. So no worries, just work to do and a better, more clear-eyed vision of the future and the world and your own role and responsibility in it. If you see UN troops move into Washington, D.C., yawn and go about your business. It's not your concern. It's not your government. The United States they are liquidating is just a corrupt and evil and bankrupt foreign commercial corporation being liquidated for cause. It has nothing whatsoever to do with American state nationals peacefully residing on the land. Your own government resides within you and among you and in the organizations you create and operate on a local level. Your own counties and states owed the land jurisdiction of this country. Bottom line, we the people have no dog in this fight, and don't be stupid enough to make a fight where there is none. Let Lord Rothschild earn his money and clean up the mess his government created, and keep an eye on the crooks so that you don't ever get defrauded and mischaracterized again. All right, so if it's okay with all of you, I'm going to open it up, and we had somebody new hop in. Hi, Mike. Thanks for coming on tonight. Mike, can you hear us? Mike? Hello, Mike? I'm going to stop screen sharing. I'm going to open it up for questions. and then we'll get into the other documents. Anybody have questions on that article?
Tammy.
What's that, Kathy?
I just said no. I don't.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to share. We're going to review because she hit a lot of topics in that article. And so I'd like to, let's start with the Treaty of Paris, okay? Because most people don't know that the constitutions were the instrumentalities, or I should say the treaty was the instrumentality that led to the Constitution. And the Constitution was just the contract, but the treaty was the terms and agreement, okay? So does anybody want to read? Anybody feel called to read?
I don't have my glasses, Tammy.
Okay, no worries. All right, if anybody feels called to read, just raise your hand, but we'll review this. So this treaty signed on September 3rd, 1783 between the American colonies and Great Britain ended the American Revolution and formally recognized the United States as an independent nation. Okay, so it says the American War for Independence, we went on for 8 years, was actually a world conflict involving not only the United States and Great Britain, but also France, Spain, and the Netherlands. The peace process brought a nascent United States into the arena of international diplomacy, playing against the largest and most established powers on earth. The three American negotiators, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, and John Jay, proved themselves ready for the world stage, achieving many of the objectives sought by the new United States. Two crucial provisions of the treaty were British recognition of U.S. independence and the delineation of boundaries that would allow for American Western expansion. And what this article here what it should say is recognition of United States, because U.S., this abbreviation is not the same. Anyway, the treaty is named for the city in which it was negotiated and signed. The last page bears the signatures of David Hartley, who represented Great Britain, and the three American negotiators who signed their names in alphabetical order. Multiple treaty documents, however, can be considered as originals. In this case, the United States and British representatives signed at least 3 originals, 2 of which are in the holdings of the National Archives. On one of the signed originals, the signatures and wax seals are arranged horizontally. On the other, they are arranged vertically. In addition, handwritten certified copies were made for the use of Congress. Some online transcriptions of the treaty omit Delaware from the list of former colonies, but the original text does list Delaware. Very interesting. All right, so here we go. This is the transcript. And I think there was also, this is the transcript, but there is the actual document. You can actually look at the actual document too. Anyway, the Definitive Treaty of Peace, 1783, in the name of the most holy and undivided Trinity. It having pleased the divine providence to dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent Prince George III, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France and Ireland, defender of the faith, Duke of Brunswick and Lunenburg, Arch-Treasurer and Prince-Elector of the Holy Roman Empire, etc., and of the United States of America, to forget all past misunderstandings and differences that have unhappily interrupted the good correspondence and friendship which they mutually wish to restore, and to establish such a beneficial and satisfactory intercourse between the two countries upon the ground of reciprocal advantages and mutual convenience as may promote and secure to both perpetual peace and harmony, and having for this desirable end already laid the foundation of peace and reconciliation by the provisional articles signed at Paris on the 30th of November, 1782, by the commissioners empowered on each part, which articles were agreed to be inserted in and constitute the treaty of peace proposed to be concluded between the Crown of Great Britain and the said United States, but which treaty was not to be concluded until terms of peace should be agreed upon between Great Britain and France, and His Britannic Majesty should be ready to conclude such treaty accordingly. And the treaty between Great Britain and France having since been concluded, His Britannic Majesty and the United States of America, in order to carry into full effect the provisional articles above mentioned, according to the tenor thereof, have constituted and appointed, that is to say, His Britannic Majesty on his part, David Hartley, Esquire, member of the Parliament of Great Britain, excuse me, and the said United States on their part. Stop point. John Adams, Esquire, late a commissioner of the United States of America at the Court of Versailles, late delegate in Congress from the state of Massachusetts and Chief Justice of the said state, the Prime Minister plenipotentiary of the said United States to their high mightinesses, the States General of the United Netherlands. Stop point. Benjamin Franklin, Esquire, late delegate in Congress from the state of Pennsylvania, President of the Convention of the said state, and Minister Plenipotentiary from the United States of America at the Court of Versailles, John J. Esquire, late President of Congress and Chief Justice of the State of New York, and Minister Plenipotentiary from the said United States at the Court of Madrid, to be plenipotentiaries for the concluding and signing the present definitive treaty, who after having reciprocally communicated their respective full powers, have agreed upon and confirmed the following articles. Article 1st. His Britannic Majesty acknowledges the said United States, viz., New Hampshire, Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island, the Providence, Plantations, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia to be free, sovereign, and independent states, that he treats them as such, and for himself, his heirs, and successors, relinquishes all claims to the government, proprietary, and territorial rights of the same and every part thereof. Article 2nd, and that all disputes which might arise in future on the subject of the boundaries of the said United States may be prevented. It is hereby agreed and declared that the following are and shall be their boundaries, viz., from the northwest angle of Nova Scotia. So I'm going to skip through this, by the way, because these are all the points that sets the boundaries for America, basically, for the country, for the United States. Okay, so, I will put this link in the chat. Actually, let me see if I could grab that now. And I will throw that in the chat so you guys have it and you could read through all that detailed stuff. Because I'm going to go to the next article. All right, it's in the chat for you guys to grab. Article 3rd, right? Or 3. It's interesting the way that they numbered them. It is agreed that the people, notice how there's a capital P, people here, guys. Okay, that's important. It is agreed that the people of the United States shall continue to enjoy unmolested the right to take fish of every kind on the Grand Bank and on all other banks of Newfoundland, also in the Gulf of St. Lawrence and at all other places in the sea, where the inhabitants of both countries used at the time heretofore to fish, and also that the inhabitants of the United States, so the inhabitants are their people, right, shall have liberty to take fish of every kind on such part of the coast of Newfoundland as British fishermen shall use, but not to dry or cure the same on that island, and also on the coasts, bays, and creeks of all other of his Britannic Majesty's dominions in America, and that the American fishermen shall have liberty to dry and cure fish in any of the unsettled bays, harbors, and creeks of Nova Scotia, Magdalen Islands, and Labrador, so long as the same shall remain unsettled. But so soon as the same or either of them shall be settled, it shall not be lawful for the said fishermen to dry or cure fish at such settlement without a previous agreement for that purpose with the inhabitants, proprietors, or possessors of the ground. Article 4th. It is agreed that creditors on either side shall meet with no lawful impediment to the recovery of the full value in sterling money of all bona fide debts heretofore contracted. Article 5. It is agreed that Congress shall earnestly recommend it to the legislatures of the respective states to provide for the restitution of all estates, rights, and properties which have been confiscated belonging to real British subjects, and also of the estates, rights, and properties of persons resident in districts in the possession on His Majesty's arms, and who have not borne arms against the said United States, and that persons of any other description shall have free liberty to go to any part or parts of any of the 13 United States, and therein to remain 12 months unmolested in their endeavors to obtain the restitution of such of their estates, rights, and properties as may have been confiscated. And that Congress shall also earnestly recommend to the several states a reconsideration and revision of all acts or laws regarding the premises, so as to render the said laws or acts perfectly consistent, not only with justice and equity, but with the spirit of conciliation, which on the return of the blessings of peace should universally prevail. And that Congress shall also earnestly recommend to the several states that the estates, rights, and properties of such last mentioned persons shall be restored to them, they refunding to any persons who may be now in possession the bona fide price where any has been given, which such persons may have paid on purchasing any of the said lands, rights, or properties since the confiscation. And it is agreed that all persons who have any interest in confiscated lands, either by debts, marriage settlements, or otherwise, shall meet with no lawful impediment in the prosecution of their just rights. Article 6. That there shall be no future confiscations made, nor any prosecutions commenced against any person or persons for or by reason of the part which he or they may have taken in the present war, and that no person shall on the account suffer any future loss or damage, either in his person, liberty, or property, and that those who may be in confinement on such charges at the time of the ratification of the treaty in America shall be immediately set at liberty, and the prosecution so commenced be discontinued. Article 7. There should be a firm and perpetual peace between His Britannic Majesty and the said states, and between the subjects of the one and the citizens of the other. Wherefore all hostilities, both by sea and land, shall from henceforth cease. All prisoners on both sides shall be set at liberty, and His Britannic Majesty shall with all convenient speed, and without causing any destruction, or carrying away any negroes or other property of the American inhabitants, withdraw all his armies, garrisons, and fleets from the said United States, and from every post, place, and harbor within the same, leaving in all fortifications, the American artillery that may be therein, and shall also order and cause all archives, records, deeds, and papers belonging to any of the said states or their citizens, which in the course of the war may have fallen into the hands of his officers, to be forthwith restored and delivered to the proper states and persons to whom they belong. Article 8. The navigation of the river Mississippi from its source to the ocean shall forever remain free and open to the subjects of Great Britain and the citizens of the United States. Article 9. In case it should so happen that any place or territory belonging to Great Britain or to the United States should have been conquered by the arms of either from the other before the arrival of the said provisional articles in America, it is agreed that the same shall be restored without difficulty and without requiring any compensation. And last, the 10th article, the solemn ratifications of the present treaty expedited in good and due form shall be exchanged between the contracting parties in the space of 6 months or sooner, if possible, to be computed from the day of the signature of the present treaty, in witness whereof we, the undersigned, their ministers, plenipotentiary, have in their name and in virtue of our full powers signed with our hands the present definitive treaty and caused the seals of our arms to be affixed thereto. Done at Paris this 3rd day of September in the year of our Lord 1783. And it's interesting. I would like to see their actual signatures because I don't think that it said D. Hartley. And I most certainly would say that it's definitely not in all capital letters. And Benjamin Franklin did not sign it B. Franklin. I know that for sure. But this is a transcript, so and it's in archives at the government. So I think there's also, I mean, you could probably, try to get this one, all pages in National Archives catalog. So, I mean, this is the actual document. Right? Let's see if we can blow this up. Huh. It says B. Franklin. But it's definitely not in all capital letters. John J is spelled out. Or unless B-E... I wonder if he wrote Ben Franklin. I don't know. That does look just like a B. That's odd. Wow. There's a lot here. 16 pages. So I guess because it was handwritten. Anybody have any questions? It seems like the style of the writing, it's a little hard to follow sometimes, like what they were meaning, based on the style. But this was the beginning, the peace treaty that led to the constitutions. So I'm going to pause it there. You guys have any questions or comments? Anything to add? Batista, Dan, Kathy, Carlene, Mike.
Thank you. I'm good. Mike was having a hard time hearing you, but I think he logged back on.
Okay, is this a friend of yours, Carlene?
It is via Facebook, but yes, we've spoken several times.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
welcome.
He's a brilliant man.
Welcome, Mike. Dan, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
No questions here. I was just going to say nothing here.
Yeah. All right. Now, I think the next document that I'd like to share that we can review, let's see, is going to be, let's see, it's the Sovereign Immunities Act, the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. Let me see. I have to do that. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the chat as well, so you guys can have this. Let's see. All right. Okay. Okay, so the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, also known as FSIA of 1976, is a United States law codified at Title 28, Section 1330, 1332, and 1391 F, 1441D, and 1602 through 1611 of the United States Code, that establishes the limitations as to whether a foreign sovereign nation or its political subdivisions, agencies, or instrumentalities may be sued in U.S. courts, federal or state. So I want to just pause here for a second, because when it says here the United States Code, this is not referring to the United States country. It's referring to the United States municipal government, okay? Because they're a part of the commercial code, like the universal commercial code, okay? Anytime you see something that says code, you know, like even their laws are not technically laws. They're statutes and codes, right? So always keep in mind that you're dealing with usually the municipality government. Okay. And then you see it says they abbreviated it U.S. So up here they say United States, but then here they say U.S. courts, right? Federal or state. And they say federal or state because technically this word state is not being used in the way that you and I think it's being used. We think it's being used as like the actual state, like New Jersey state, New York state, Connecticut state. But this word is being used to mean their corporation. All right. All right. In international law, government protection against lawsuits in foreign courts is known as state immunity. Government immunity in domestic courts is known as sovereign immunity. It also establishes specific procedures for service of process, attachment of property, and execution of judgment and proceedings against a foreign state. Now, I also want to pause here for a second and let you know that we are sovereign, or rather, we are foreign to their government and to their jurisdiction. That's why we are foreigners in relationship to their government. All right. So the FSIA provides the exclusive basis and means to bring a lawsuit against a foreign sovereign in the United States. It was signed into law by United States President Gerald Ford on October 21, 1976. Since the passage of the FSIA in 1976, numerous legal issues have arisen in regards to the manifold interpretations of the Act, leading to the formation of an American Bar Association working group that seeks to reform FSIA. Well, that's not a surprise. Let's see. The exceptions are listed at 28 U.S.C. Section 1605, 1605A, and 1607. The most common exceptions are when the foreign state waives immunity or agrees to submit a dispute to arbitration, engages in commercial activity, commits a tort in the United States, such as common traffic accident, or expropriates property in violation of international law. The FSIA also excludes immunity in cases involving certain counterclaims and admiralty claims. Section 221 of the Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act of 1976 added an exception for U.S. victims of terrorism for any government designated by the State Department as a state sponsor of terrorism. The Flatow Amendment was also added in 1996, named after lawyer Stephen Flatow, who fought to sue Iran over the suicide bombing that killed his daughter Elisa in 1995, which made those responsible for such attacks liable in court. So I want to pause here for a second too, because when we're reading documents like this, we have to make sure that our minds are straight on knowing who is who and what is what when they're using different terminology. So remember that when they use the word foreign, most of us, when we talk about foreigners, we're thinking of people that come from outside of America, right? But this word foreign in this document, especially in the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, is because Americans are foreign and we're also sovereign. So keep that in mind, okay? Because in this document, we're going to skip around through some of this. I don't think we're going to get through all of it. It's 9 pages, but I think that just they use examples of other countries like Iran, so it doesn't, we know that New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, we're all our own separate nation states. And they're even, they're not foreign, but they have their different jurisdictions, right? But keep in mind that when they're speaking about a foreigner or something to that effect, they're talking about Americans are foreign in respect to their government. All right, so let's hear. In response to the decision of Chicapipo Pulio versus Islamic Republic of Iran that made it difficult to seek private cause of action lawsuits against foreign nations, even with the Flatow Amendment, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2008 greatly expanded the terrorism exceptions by moving these as a whole to Section 1605A, making foreign nations liable for the actions of their officers in cause of action lawsuits and expanding exceptions for torture, extrajudicial killing, aircraft sabotage, and hostage taking. In 2016, the Justice Against Sponsors of Terrorism Act removed the requirement that a state sponsor of terrorism be officially listed so that victim families of September 11 attacks could sue Saudi Arabia, which is odd because we know that 9/11 was an inside job. Anyway, scope and applicability, retroactive application. In 2004, the Supreme Court held, now remember also that the Supreme Court is their Supreme Court, held in Republic of Austria versus Altman, 541 U.S. 677 2004, that the FSIA applies retroactively. That case involved a claim by the descendants of owners of famous paintings against the Austrian government for return of those paintings, which were allegedly seized during the Nazi era. As a consequence of Altman, for lawsuits filed after the enactment of the FSIA in 1976, Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act standards of immunity and its exceptions apply even where the conduct that took place prior to enactment of the FSIA. I think I want to go on to definition of foreign state. So the FSIA only applies to lawsuits involving a foreign state. The FSIA defines foreign state to include 3 entities. All right. So let's go. That's 3 out of 9. Which one is this? Is that 4? No, that one's 5. Okay, so let's go to this one. All right. A foreign state. Okay, so that would be us, guys, right? Because New Jersey State would be foreign to their jurisdiction. A political subdivision of a foreign state. Well, here we go. We got the New Jersey Assembly, right? It's a government, a political subdivision of the foreign state. An agency or instrumentality of a foreign state. You got 28 U.S.C. section 1603A. Agency or instrumentality is then defined as any entity which has a separate legal identity and is either an organ of a foreign state or political subdivision, has a majority of or shares or other ownership interests owned by a foreign state or political subdivision. So basically your private property, right? 28 U.S.C. section 1603B in Dole Food Company versus Patrickson, 538 U.S. 468, 2003, the Supreme Court determined that in order for a government-owned corporation to qualify as a foreign state under the FSIA because a majority of its shares or other ownership interest are owned by a foreign state or political subdivision, the foreign state must directly own a majority of the corporation's shares. In Dole, two chemical corporations indirectly owned by the Israeli government sought to remove a case from Hawaii State Court to Hawaii Federal Court on the basis that the FSIA applied. The Supreme Court concluded that because the Israeli government did not directly own a majority of the company shares, the corporations could not be considered foreign states, and the FSIA therefore did not apply. Well, I would go on and further say that it didn't matter whether or not they had certain amount of shares, because if they themselves are a corporation, they can't be a foreign state. Well, I guess it would depend if they're referring to a sovereign government. And there's very few sovereign governments out there anymore. You know, we are just getting our sovereign government up and functioning, but pretty much Great Britain has basically used our military to go into all these other countries and use, force and coercion and violence to take over the country and take it over with putting in that puppet government as a corporation. I mean, most governments are corporations. So if there is a foreign government, it's going to be a lawful sovereign government, and that would be foreign to them. Let's see here. And we left off right here. So other courts, however, noting that the language and structure of the FSIA, and particularly Section 1603B, appear to contemplate that entities and not individuals are covered by the agency or instrumentality definition, had concluded that individuals are not entitled to immunity under the FSIA. Now remember, in their jurisdiction, when you go look up at Black's Law Dictionary what an individual is, it's not a man or a woman. It's not a living man or woman. It says here, see Yusuf versus Samantar from 2009, holding that former Somalian government official is not covered by and therefore entitled to immunity under the FSIA, and remanding to district court to determine whether defendant is entitled to common law immunity. You see that? Common law. Common law is on the land jurisdiction where living, breathing men and women are. However, the Supreme Court in 2010 decided that the act does not extend immunity to a government official acting on behalf of a state. In the case of Samantar versus Yusuf, decided in June of 2010, the Supreme Court found that there is nothing to suggest that foreign state within the FSIA should be read to include an official acting on behalf of that state. Now remember, in our jurisdiction, an official that's acting on behalf of the state is considered a lawful person. Okay? Justice Stevens, with the unanimous support of the Supreme Court, made the decision into common law with his many paragraphs on the court case. This helped define what is considered to be a foreign state, which now included state officials acting within their jurisdiction. Right. Moreover, the potential of the FSIA to undermine foreign policy goals of the executive branch has been an ongoing concern. Well, because they're giving foreign sovereigns the immunity against their laws, which, I mean, that's a no-brainer. But they made it part of their codes and statutes. So this is why we have. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop screen sharing here for a minute because I do want to pull up so you guys can see this. I want to pull up our Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act paperwork so you guys can see this. Let's see, where is it? Right, I think this is it. Yeah, that's it. All right, let me screen share this so you guys can see it. All right. I'm going to blow it up just a little bit so it's not so small. All right, so this is mandatory notice, Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, Section 1605 and 1607. So we're going to go back after we read this to the Sovereign Immunities Act, and we're going to specifically go to these sections. Notice of liability, 18 U.S.C. 2333, 18 U.S.C. 1341, and 1342. This mandatory notice is to provide to all territorial United States district and state and county courts, their officers, clerks, bailiffs, sheriffs, deputies, and employees, and all municipal appointees, including their district, state, and county courts, their officers and employees. Now notice that because it's in capital letters, that's their corporations, all right? The vessels doing business as Erin Eileen Jones, so that's her real name, right? And not limited to, and then she's going to have all the variations that they try to use, right? Erin Jones, Erin Eileen Jones, Erin E. Jones, and then capital letters, all. And if she's married, it's her married name too, okay? And all the different styles. Together with all the derivatives and permutations and punctuations and orderings of these names are not acting in any federal, territorial, or municipal capacity. So we're letting them know we are not part of your government. We are not a corporation. We are not one of your subjects, okay? Have not knowingly or willingly acted in any such capacity since the day of nativity. And you're going to put the month you were born, the day you were born, and your birth year, okay? All vessels are duly claimed by the holder in due course and held under published common law copyright since, and then you put your birth date. These vessels are publishing mandatory notice that they are foreign sovereigns from, and then you would put your birth date, a member state of the United States of America. This is your mandatory. So for me, I'm in Connecticut. So it says that they are foreign sovereigns from Connecticut, a member state of the United States of America. This is your mandatory notice that these above named vessels are owed all material rights, duties, exemptions, insurances, treaties, bonds, agreements, and guarantees, including indemnity and full faith and credit. You are also hereby provided with mandatory notice that these vessels are not subject to territorial or municipal United States laws and are owed the law of peace. Department of the Army pamphlet 27-161-1. So I would say to you guys, Carlene and Mike, Take a screenshot if you can of this, because these are all this is your proof to go look up, right? In the Army pamphlet, do a search on Google, wherever your search engine, for Army pamphlet 27-161-1, because that's the law of peace. From all territorial and municipal officers and employees who otherwise have no permission to approach or address them. Any harm resulting from trespass upon these vessels or the use of fictitious names or titles related to them shall be subject to full commercial liability and penalties. And then it states their codes in which the penalties, these are the penalties that if they trespass upon us, this is going to be their fines. Okay, and let's see, I'm going to stop. So 2333, let me look that up. I'm going to share my screen with you guys again. Go through this share. All right. All right, so we got 28 USC 2333. Part of the Anti-Terrorism Act allows U.S. nationals injured by international terrorism to sue in federal court, offering treble damages and attorney fees. Enacted in 1992, it provides a private cause of action enabling victims to sue for injuries to person, property, or business. So if we are being terrorized by, say, a cop or a sheriff or whatever, right? They're trespassing against us. That's an act of terror, and so that's why they're citing this, or why we cite this on that document, Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. Okay, and let's see. I want to look up the other ones that they used. We have 18 USC 1341. So let's look up that one. 28 USC 1841. Or was it? Hold on. Let me make sure it was 28 USC. No, it's 18. 18 USC. Let's see. Protection of unborn children. Let's see here. Whoever engages in conduct that violates any of the provisions of law listed in subsection B and thereby causes the death of or bodily injury as defined in section 1365 to a child who is in utero at the time the conduct takes place is guilty of a separate offense under this section. Except as otherwise provided in this paragraph, the punishment for that separate offense is the same as the punishment provided under federal law for that conduct had the injury of death occurred to the unborn child's mother. An offense under this section does not require proof that the person engaging in the conduct had knowledge or should have had knowledge that the victim of the underlying offense was pregnant or the defendant intended to cause the death of or bodily injury to the unborn child. C. If the person engaging in the conduct thereby intentionally kills or attempts to kill the unborn child, that person shall, instead of being punished under subparagraph A, be punished as provided under sections of this title for intentionally killing or attempting to kill a human being. Notwithstanding any other provision of law, the death penalty shall not be imposed for an offense under this section. To abortion. Let me see what else. So we have 18 USC. I think I might have been in the wrong one. I think I had 28 instead of 18. Let me go back. 18 USC 2333. Civil remedies. Use of blocked assets to satisfy judgments of U.S. nationals for purposes of Section 201 of the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act of 2002, in any action in which a national of the United States has obtained a judgment against a terrorist party pursuant to this section, The term blocked asset shall include any asset of that terrorist party, including the blocked assets of any agency or instrumentality of that party, seized or frozen by the United States under Section 805B of the Foreign Narcotics Kingpin Designation Act. Oh my gosh, the amount of codes and whatnot these people have. We have USC 1342. Are you guys still with me, or am I losing you? Are your like, eyes glazing over, or are you finding interest in this?
Language is certainly interesting to me.
I like it. We got to click on all the words within the words too, because they mean something different. It's crazy.
Just more of the mystery.
I put 2 in the chat too, Tammy, that are for like traffic tickets.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, this is a good one, I think, here. We got 18 U.S. Code 1342, fictitious name or address. Whoever, for the purpose of conducting, promoting, or carrying on by means of the postal service, any scheme or device mentioned in Section 1341 of this title or any other unlawful business uses or assumes or requests to be addressed by any fictitious. And now remember, that fictitious name is your all caps name. That's a fictitious name. False or assumed title, name, or address. Remember, your address is also fictitious. That's why as a state national, we put in care of in front of our address, and we put the zip code in brackets because that is a borrowed address that the Postal Service gave to us and allowed us to use for the sole purpose of receiving mail. But your address on your house is not the actual name of your property. So when people are claiming their property, they go through a process to rename their property. And they put it on a public record, and there's a whole process to do it. So whenever you use the address that the post office has assigned to you, you always want to put the C/O for in care of, or you could write it out in care of, right? All right, or address or name other than his own proper name, or takes or receives from any post office or authorized depository or mail matter, any letter, postal card, package, or other mail matter addressed to any such fictitious, false, or assumed title, name, or address, or name other than his own proper name shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. So I want to, really pound this in, especially for our state nationals that are, like if you guys are fighting any bills that are coming to you, right? If they're coming to your fictitious name, I know for us, we've been putting on their return to sender, no such name exists, and I'll put the code. I put 18 USC 1341. Because technically, and there's also one for mail fraud. Let me see if I could find the one for mail fraud. Give me a second.
So what happens when you do that? Do they
It gets returned.
Going to collections and all that jazz?
Well, if it goes to collections, we do the same thing, Carlene.
Okay.
Where they send us anything, I actually have said to my mail lady when she tried, see the attorneys have gotten so smart about it, because they had the deputy from the sheriff's office hand deliver it to me. And I actually said to him, no, that's not my name. And when I said to him, no, that's not my name, he said, but it's your name right here. I said, that's not my name. It's not spelled properly. It's all in all cap letters. And so he left, but he walked down my driveway and saw that I still had a license plate. So he looked up my license plate and then found, my all caps name. But, these deputies, they don't know. You know, so he probably thinks I was trying to pull a fast one over on him. And so he came back and he put the court case on my door handle. So I just returned it to the attorneys. I had to do that 3 times. And then they dropped the case for 6 months. And then after 6 months, they tried to send it through the mail with certified mail, which means that the post lady had to come to my door to get a signature. And when she came to my door, I said, that's actually identity theft. I said, somebody has taken my name and is trying to assign all these bills to my name. I said, and I can't in good conscience accept that from you because I'll be participating in a crime. And if you actually give me that, if you give it to me after me telling you that this is fraud, now you become an accomplice to the crime too. So she got nervous and said, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm just going to return it. So she didn't deliver it to me. But, yeah, that's what you can use these codes for. But yes, the mail fraud is also, it's the same codes. It's 1341 and 1342. Yeah. Oh, because it says here in 1341, section 1341 of, let's see. Whoever having devised or intending to devise any scheme or artifice to defraud or for obtaining money or property by means of false or fraudulent pretenses, representations, or promises, or to sell, dispose of, loan, exchange, alter, give away, distribute, supply, or furnish, or procure for unlawful use any counterfeit or spurious coin, obligation, security, or other article, or anything represented to be an intimidated or intimated or held out to be such counterfeit or spurious article for the purpose of executing such scheme or artifice. I actually put on there the fines too. I'll let them know what the fines are because it's up to, oh, here it is. $1 million. Ooh, I think this went up. Shall be fined not more than $1 million or imprisoned not more than 30 years or both. I actually put that on there. So, all right, let's see. Let's go back. I want to take a look at, so on our document, on the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, we have sections 1605 and 1607. So let's go back. Let me stop screen sharing. I'm going to go back to, hold on. Let's go back to this. And we'll go here and let's try to find 1602. Okay, this is 1603. Did I miss it? What am I missing here? 28 USC 603, maybe. Let me go. I'm going to do Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, but I want to do section, what was it? Was it 1602? It was 1602 I said, right?
I believe so.
1605. 1605. 1605. Let's look this up. No, Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. Why doesn't it just have it up? Edit channels, 1608. Maybe this is it. Oh, gosh. Requirements. This is, all right, this is a gov.gov. Requirements for personal jurisdiction over foreign states. All right, here we go. 1605 and 1607. Let's see. The Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act default rule is that foreign states are immune from U.S. jurisdiction. 28 U.S.C. 1604 provides that a foreign state shall be immune from the jurisdiction of the courts of the United States and of the states except as provided in Section 605 or 1605 and 1607 of this chapter. The Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act sovereign immunity exceptions, which are found in Section 1605 and 1607, include cases in which the foreign state was waived its immunity, cases based on the foreign state's commercial activity within the United States or outside the United States, if the activity has a direct effect in the United States, cases in which money damages. Why won't they let you go to this section so you could read the section yourself instead of giving me their interpretation of it?
You know that answer.
Yeah. That is just very That's frustrating. Not surprising though. You probably have to do like a couple of different searches to actually see it. 1605. Let's see what this says. Well, this is from Florida State University. Maybe it's their law department. Oh, I don't want any cookies. All right, let's see. The use of procedure to affect equity, Section 1605B of the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act of 1976. You have to download it. Or maybe just click on it. Let's see. To affect equity section of the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna share it in the chat, and then I've got one more I think to share, but I think, or is that it that I got? This is. I think this was the Residence Act I was looking up. Let me share this in the chat too. We're not going to go. I think we're going to stop there for tonight because it is getting late. I want to respect everybody's time, but let's pause and I'm going to open it up. I shared all the links that I had here, but you guys also got a chance to see how I just do my research, and if I wasn't on the meeting tonight, like typically if I don't, I keep scrolling through the pages until I find what it is that I know I can refer to as a reputable reference. That's not, do you see how they try to summarize what the codes are and give you their interpretation of it instead of just letting you read it and interpret it? You know? All right. Anybody have anything they want to add to this? And so, Carlene, you shared something here. Oh, you cannot take a picture. Okay. Oh, yeah. You put 18 USC 241 and 242. Yes. And Mike says service of process is very specific and grounds for dismissal if not properly served. Do you want to explain that to us, Mike? Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about the officer, the deputy that was sending me the documents. If he didn't properly serve it, that it could have been grounds for his dismissal. That's what you're talking about? Maybe your mic isn't working. You might need to turn the volume up maybe on your computer. Because I can't hear you, but I appreciate that comment there. Yeah. Anybody else? Patisa, Kathy, did you guys find that information valuable?
Yes.
Okay, great. I think that it's probably good for us to review this information and also to look up, in live time. Mike is recommending getting a code book. The interesting thing, Mike, is that, the code book is great because you get to look up the different codes. But we don't stand under those codes. Like it's good, I guess, to know, so you can cite them and let them know that you're aware of their codes and that there is remedy for people like us, right? Because that's how they got away with all of the chicanery, is that they created these I'm just going to call them codes and statutes for their citizenry. And, but we're separate from their citizenry. And so they had to provide remedy in there, for us, which is, all these, cool little, USC, 18 USC 1341, 1342, and, USC or 18 USC, what did you put? 241 and 242 also? 18 USC 241 and 242. Yeah. So, we get to use their language against them so that they know we're on to them. But, the codes and statutes are for their citizens, not for us. We stand under common law. We just go back to the unanimous Declaration of Independence, and it says in there that we are endowed by our Creator, and that, we are only bound by the laws of nature and nature's God. So, and that goes back to the 10 Commandments. That's really our laws. Do no harm. It's really that simple. Do no harm. That's why when a cop pulls you over, for, making a right-hand turn when you shouldn't have made a right-hand turn. Well, as long as there's no victim and there's no crime. Did I harm somebody or somebody's property? If not, there's no crime here, and you need to leave me alone, because now that's considered a trespass. So, yes, that's true, Mike. He says, there are interpretation of code that are false. Many statutes have special definition, and the court will trick you into statute that is not you. Yes, for sure. They're very good at tricking you when you're in their court system, because they've used language against us. So, I've only seen people that are very well studied and have been studying it for a long time, go into court and actually have success with getting their court case thrown out because they have the knowledge, they've done their homework. So, but we don't go into their courts. And I know, Carlene, for you, it's you got a little bit of a different circumstance, with they're like in your face, so you're kind of forced to deal with them. But
With the church, yeah.
yeah. So anyhow, anybody have any other questions or comments or anything? Otherwise we can all go and my bed's calling me.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you all for attending. And I will try to get this up on YouTube. Hopefully some other people may find some value in the information shared. Carlene, I know that you were inviting other people, and if they couldn't make it, once I get this up on the YouTube channel, you're more than welcome to share it out with them. Okay. All right, guys. Good night. Have a good night. Love y'all.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.